All right, welcome everyone. Happy Saturday. So take your right hand on the inside of your right knee, move the knee out to the side and pull your leg back for Swastikasana. Use your thumb to turn the sole of the foot up toward the ceiling and do the same thing with the other leg. So really use your hands to turn the feet. So you get almost onto the virasana, or the top part of the foot. Then use your hands to adjust your calf flesh up toward the ceiling. And again, use your hands by squeezing the skin to the flesh to the bone and turn. And do that on both legs. So you organize the skin, the flesh, and the bone. And for me particularly, what I like about taking the time to do that is I can really feel those sitting bones move in toward each other, which gives me a nice lift coming into the chest. I feel the lift first in the center part of the chest. But then you have to also really actively work to make sure that the lift is really coming through the whole torso. Okay, so to help that happen, go ahead and put your hands on your rib cage and lift your rib cage straight up. And take your hands and hook them underneath your thumbs underneath your armpits and lift up through the center of the armpits so you feel that whole side of the torso get long. Then move your thumbs to the back of the armpits and move from the back of the armpit to the front of the armpits, and you'll feel your trapezius muscles release away from the neck. Then sneak your hands together at the center of your sternum. Press the palms against each other and extend up through the ring finger, but also use your thumb to lift that center part of the sternum up, and the trapezius will come down. Use your forearms again to help more with that lift from the whole torso. So you're lifting that whole rib cage up with your forearms. Press your palms again and lift with your thumb up toward the chest. And then close your eyes and turn your awareness now to the inner space. We've spent a bit of time getting a nice outer architecture shape of the pose. And a lot of times I think of that as the container that you're building. And then having built that external container, you have to focus on what you want to put in the container or what you want to do with the container. So the container of the body really contains the prana, or the energy that we work with in asana and pranayama. So as you inhale, make yourself taller from the tailbone all the way up through the head. Keep that height, and as you exhale, move the prana, or the energy of the breath, outward into your side ribs and armpits. Inhale, make yourself tall. Keep that height. Exhale, move the prana both horizontally or widthwise, but also see if you can move when the exhalation, get a sense of the feeling of the prana moving into the back body. So as you inhale, make yourself tall, and as you exhale, make yourself broader. And then having worked with the breath like that to help create an inner sense of spaciousness, turn your awareness now to the exhalation itself. Follow the exhalation with your mind, like it's a pathway or a thread that you can follow from the outer world toward the inner world, the inner landscape of you, the domain of yoga. Use your exhalations to take your awareness there. Patanjali also suggests focusing on the pause that comes at the end of each exhalation as a means of removing the obstacles towards seeing the inner self. I think he does that because the mind begins to take on the qualities of the pause, so that the mind becomes more serene, more sattvic, more still. And from that still place within, let's chant 3 Oms together. Om. 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 Follow that sound with your mind. Follow the reverberation of the sound with your mind. And then from that space, lift your chest well, hold your palms down at your legs, and then raise your head and open your eyes. And go ahead and switch the cross of your legs. And then stretch your legs out and just go into downward facing dog for a second. I have to go let one of the dogs in. So you just be in downward facing dog for a second. All right, and walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. All right, then we're gonna do downward facing dog again, but before we do that, we're actually gonna do an Adho Mukha Virasana. So I need a little bit of blanket back behind my knees. You might as well. But I have a blanket back behind my knees. My toes are together and my knees are out, not super wide, okay? Because if they're too wide, you kind of collapse down too much. But so that the side of my abdomen comes into contact with the inner thighs. Okay? And then when you fold forward, you want to really lengthen through the whole front of the body. And I can feel that that's not actually happening for me right now. So what I'm going to do is actually lengthen and reach one hand at a time and see if I can coax a little bit more length out of each side of the body.
Jan.
Yeah.
Your feet is together? Feet together? Feet.
Toes are together. Yeah.
Feet together. Okay. Thank you.
Not the whole foot, but just the big toes.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Also, for me this morning, I'm feeling like it's a little bit much to go all the way down to the floor right off, okay? So what I'm gonna do is bring my head down to a brick instead, okay? So again, I'm really working on getting as much length in that front of the torso as possible. Then I put my head on that brick. If you can go to the floor, go to the floor. And spread your palms well. And have your palms spread on the floor like you're going to do downward facing dog. And observe what happens in the armpits. Now turn your palms to face each other. And see if you can walk a little bit further forward and see if you can feel how that stretches the outer armpit a little bit more. Okay, so when your palms are down, I feel it more stretching in the center part of the armpit. And when I turn my palms to face each other and extend out through those ring fingers, I feel the stretch more in the outer side armpit area. You might feel it the same way, you might not. Then turn your palms back flat like you're gonna come up and do downward facing dog, because you are in just a second. So come up onto your hands and your knees. Usually I say spread the palms well, or spread the palms, but actually take your right hand off the floor and spread the palm before you even put it on the floor. So really take advantage of that spaciousness of the air element to put your palm all the way down, and then put your palm all the way down. And you can really feel a difference. Like I didn't do it with my left hand yet. So when I look at my right hand, it's way more spread, and there's way more, it's like not, like the left hand almost looks kind of shriveled in comparison to the right hand. And it's like, well, that works. I'm going to do it on the other side. So lift your hand up, left hand up. Really spread your fingers, and particularly can you extend your thumb and your little finger away from each other, and then keeping that nice spread palm down, then put it down. Okay, so you've really got some nice pressure of the hand onto the floor. But don't sink into your hands, instead draw the energy up from your wrists up into the shoulders. Turn your biceps so that they go toward the screen. Then press your thumb and first finger down a little bit more as you push back into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Feel that additional rootedness of the hands and how that helps you bring the weight of the pose back into your legs. Maintain that good work of the arms and the hands and come up onto the balls of the feet. Lift your quadriceps, lift your inner thighs, but also lift from the outer knee up into the outer hip, and feel how that engages the muscles of the legs more. Then push your hands down and forward, keep engaging quadriceps, inner thighs, outer thighs, and reach back through the heels so you bring the weight even more fully onto the legs. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. All right, then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Place your hands on your pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. So could y'all feel that difference when you spread your palms in the air and you put your hands down? It was pretty, for me, it was pretty remarkable, the difference in doing that. And you can do that same thing here in Tadasana, even though, you know, in the classic pose, the fingers are together, but before you put your fingers together, go ahead and spread your finger palms out. Yeah. Just in Tadasana. So you get a nice spread and vitality of the work of the fingers and also of the palm. Then having done that, join your fingers together and join your thumb with your fingers. And keep extending through your ring fingers. And the more you do those actions, you should feel a nice lift coming up into your chest. And check back in at your legs, lift up through the quadriceps, lift up from the inner thighs, but also lift up from the outer knee into the outer hip. And feel how that helps you with that outer hip compacting work. All right, then reach your arms up into Urdhva Hastasana with your palms facing each other so you really get that nice extension in the side of the arm. Reach up through the ring fingers. Move your arms back behind your ears a little bit. Turn your palms down and press through that air element so you come all the way back into a really nice Tadasana with your chest well lifted and also broad. All right, then stretch your arms out, interlace your fingers, turn your palms toward me, extend from the elbows through the wrist bones and reach your arms all the way up toward the ceiling. Move the buttocks down, draw your abdomen in and up, turn the tricep from the outside in and extend up from the elbows through the wrist bones. Make yourself tall. But make sure your trapezius muscle is still releasing away from your neck. And bring your arms down, switch the grip of your fingers, turn your palms toward me, extend from the elbows through the wrist bones, and reach your arms all the way up. Extend from the elbows through the wrist bones and reach up. Really feel that extension come into the side ribs, and hopefully you'll feel your abdomen draw in toward the spine a little bit as well. Then release your arms down, come back into Tadasana. Now we're going to do the interlace finger behind the back. Okay, so you're going to lengthen up through the arms, bend your elbows, and interlace your fingers. Keep the elbows bent for a little while just so you can get the movement up into the armpits. Then you can go ahead and straighten your arms and pull your arms back. And imagine that someone's got their hands on your wrist bones and they're helping you pull your arms back. My hands are not super high up, but they are away from my buttocks. Then just see the difference in the opening in the chest when you put your hands right by your buttocks and extend your fingers downward. And I do feel a little bit more lift coming into this outer side chest, or outer upper collarbones. All right, then release your hands. Switch the grip of your fingers behind your back. Lift up again into the armpits and roll your shoulders back. Keep your elbows bent at first so you really get that lift coming into the armpits. Then straighten your arms. And then at first you can just have a little angle with your hands away from your back a little bit. And then stretch in that diagonal that your arms are on. Then just notice what happens in the movement of the chest and the opening of the chest when you bring your hands back so your thumbs are right against your tailbone. And then you can extend back through your ring fingers. And I feel when it's a vertical downward rather than the diagonal, I feel more opening right here. Okay? And release your fingers and reach your arms up again into Urdhva Hastasana. And probably you'll feel some more freedom coming into your arms. Maybe you can get your arms and arms a little bit back behind your ears now. And then release your arms down. Go ahead and get a strap. The first part of this class is a lot of shoulder work, but this is a little bit different use of the strap than we've been doing lately. Okay, so you're going to make a strap about half of what you would for shoulder stand or for Panchamayurasana. Okay. Then, so it's going to keep your arms a little close together, but not all the way together. And then you're going to reach back. Push into the strap with your hands, but also reach back with your ring fingers. Again, like that someone is pulling on your wrist bones. And stay at a diagonal first. And the more you can pull those arms back, the more you should feel like there's a separation of the movement of the side chest forward from the arms back. Should feel pretty good. And then the flexibility of the wrist isn't an issue here, right? Like it is in the Urdhva Badanguliasana. So you may find that you're getting a different feeling or opening from working with the strap. I think it feels really nice, personally. And then again, just see what happens when you go from the diagonal with your hands more down back behind you. And it just changes the opening of the chest ever so slightly. All right, and then hold on to your strap. We're not going to use, well, you might need it for the next pose. The next pose is Ardha Baddha Hastasana. So I'm going to reach back behind me and try and get my left upper arm with my fingers. I'm at my elbow, which is, for me, early in the morning, not bad. Okay, so you're just going to be here. And if you can't reach at all, what you do is you take your strap, put it on your upper arm, and then you just hold on with the belt. It's not quite as good a stretch, but at least you're making some contact here. And just do the half, Ardha Baddha Hastasana, and then switch and do your other side. So get your upper arm. Okay, so both of those are kind of helpful warm-up poses for Gomukhasana arms, which is what we're going to do now. So Gomukhasana, the palm is more spread, right? Okay. So you're going to bring your left arm out behind you, turn the thumb down, bend the elbow, keep the arm away from your back, and bring your hand up into the middle of the back. Okay, now, in this side, I can work with the hand itself and kind of wiggle it up my back more. I've been taking Abhijata's classes this week. She's doing a special 5-day series of classes for, I think it's an Iron House fundraiser. But anyway, she made a distinction between stiffness and then just something that's stiff versus something that is stiff because it's injured. And you can treat, the stiffness would be there both times. Okay, so this arm is just for me stiff. Okay? So I can work a little bit more, I don't know, aggressive isn't quite the right word, but I can work, with some motion, like I can push the hand and roll the shoulder back. Another thing that works for me is to take that loop, hold on to it, and I can actually pull those fingers up just a little bit more. Okay. So that's just the bottom arm. Okay. That's just my stiff arm. Okay. Now, this one has been injured several times. Okay. So I have to be more cautious with it. Okay. But I'm not going to let myself use the injury as a reason not to try Gomukhasana. Okay. So one thing I do on my injured side, first of all, is I really make sure I've got length up into the armpits. I use my other hand to make sure I get that length. And I keep that arm there as I turn the palm, bend the elbow, and I put my hand behind my back. Okay. Now you can maybe see the hand isn't as far up the back as it was on my other side. And also, I can't wiggle as effectively. And I'm going to try, but nothing's really happening in the wiggling. So then I take advantage of the fact that I have two hands, and I carefully lift the hand up a little bit more. And then push your hand into your back and roll the shoulder back. So on this side, which is stiff more because of injury, I'm still working with a little bit of motion, but I'm going more slowly. Okay? So I'm pushing my hand to the back and rolling that shoulder back to get opening in the armpit. Okay? Now, on this side for me, using that little fishing hook thing, it doesn't feel good. Okay? It feels like it's putting too much pressure on the outer joint. Okay? So you just have to see for yourself which of all of those kinds of approaches work to get your bottom arm into Gomukhasana. Okay? All right, now we're going to add the top arm, and then we're going to try and put them together. Okay? We'll use the strap again here, so you've got your little loop of the strap. Okay? All right, so reach your left arm up, and then pat yourself on the shoulder blade. Okay? And then there's the outer shoulder blade, but you're actually trying to go to the inner shoulder blade. I forgot to tell you to hold on to the strap first. Okay? So here you are holding onto the strap with your hand. And then this is my stiff side, but not my injured side. So I can work with a good bit of motion. Okay? And I'm pulling back with my right arm to try and get more opening in the stiffer side of my armpit. All right. And it feels pretty good. Try to keep your head from not looking down. All right. And then bring the arm down. Then do the same thing on the other side. You're holding onto this hand with your strap. Sorry, holding onto the strap with your hand. And when I first put my hand back, it's more in the outer shoulder. But in Gomukhasana work, I want it to move more toward the inner shoulder. Okay? And now this side, again, it's got more of an injury. Okay? It's not actively injured, it's just had injuries. So I have to go more slowly. Okay? But I'm still working with a bit of motion to coax a little bit more opening into that shoulder. Okay. All right, then release those arms, stretch your arms out up above your head again, see if some of that Gomukhasana and all that behind the back work is working well, and then reach your arms down. And so now we're gonna try the full Gomukhasana arms. I've got the strap here if I need it. Okay, so bring your left arm out, turn the thumb down, swing the arm back behind you, try and keep the hand away from the back first and wiggle your hand up as high as it'll go. If wiggling works, you can try also using the other arm to lift up. And then you're where you are. Press your hand into your back and roll the shoulder back. If you want to try getting a little further with the strap fishing technique, do so. Now we have to add the upper arm. So you're going to reach that arm up, turn the tricep, and reach toward the fingers. You know, I'm not quite touching. I probably could touch if I just adjusted it a little bit. Okay, but even though I'm not touching, before I use my strap, I'm actively extending my fingers toward each other, okay? Like they want to touch. From those elbows, I'm extending through the fingers. And then once I've tried, then I'm gonna go ahead and use the strap. And here you are in Gomukhasana. All right, now release your right arm. Keep your left arm behind your back. Okay. This is spread palms, but for Namaskarasana, you have to go onto the little finger side of your hand, right? And just try that, and it's really amazing how the difference it is. Okay, and then you can release the arm, okay? All right, now I've got our second arm. Okay, so stretch the arm out, turn the thumb down. You can keep your hand in your armpit if you find that's helpful. And then bring the hand up. I'm sort of integrating wiggling even though nothing is happening in hopes that someday the wiggling will be effective. And even though, you know, actually now that I think about that, it is actually moving a little bit. But even that wiggling, I can actually feel it, even though it's not really moving, it is opening the thoracic spine. And I can also feel some opening coming here, even though the wiggling isn't really getting my hand higher at my back. So I'm gonna lift the hand with the other one. Press the hand into the back and roll your shoulders back. Reach your arm way, way, way up. Try and reach the arm way, way, way back behind you. Turn the tricep, bend the elbow. And again, even if you can't clasp, reach your fingers toward each other. Extend from each elbow to the fingers so you at least create the intention of wanting to clasp. Right? Then go ahead and make the clasp with the strap. Good. All right, keep your right hand where it is, release your left hand. Here's Gomukhasana. You have to slide the hand over a little bit and then move onto the little finger side of your hand for half Namaskarasana. Then release your hands down, reach the arms all the way up. One more behind the back thing, swing the arms if you can into the Shima Namaskarasana. And actually, after all that Gomukhasana work, that is coming pretty well for me. My palms aren't quite completely together, but part of my palm is at least together. All right, and then release your arms down. Yes. All right, and then bend your knees, come down and do a downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Now this downward facing dog, after all that arm and shoulder work, it should feel quite different. Okay, so the sides of your armpits should feel more open. Your thoracic spine should feel like it's going in a little bit more. Then come up onto the balls of the feet, way up high. Then lift your quadriceps, inner thighs and outer thighs. Then keep pushing your hands down and forward. Pull back with the top thighs and reach your weight all the way back onto the heels. And just let your head hang. And then walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. And be in Uttanasana for a second or two or three. Continue to work your inner thighs, outer thighs, quadriceps. And the more you do that, and your back is ready for it, the spine will just extend downward. And place your hands on your pelvic bones, roll your shoulder bones back, and come all the way back up to Tadasana. Any questions about any of that shoulder work before we kind of go on to the next thing? You don't have to have any, just thought I'd stop and ask. Okay, you're good. Chai is good. All right, good. Okay, so, an interesting thing I've been noticing in, the pandemic times is there are some poses that I do and I teach pretty regularly. And some of that is because they're easier to show on the computer screen than others. But then there are other poses that just kind of fall off of my asana playlist for whatever reason. Yeah. And then I say, oh, I will do that pose again. And then I'll go, I haven't really been doing that pose for a while. Why not? Some of it is because of reasons like this. Can't quite get the computer right. All right, but there's a nifty pose that this is one that Abhijata taught a couple days ago. And I realized, I do not think I have done this pose since the pandemic. And I'm like, I don't know why. I just haven't done it. And it's called Urdhva Prasarita Ekapadasana. So it's when you fold forward into Uttanasana, and then you extend one leg up toward the ceiling. Like we do Ekapada, downward facing dog, all the time. I just had sort of forgotten about Urdhva Prasarita Ekapadasana. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay. All right, so it looks like this. Okay. First, we're going to do it without the hands. Okay, so you're going to come down. I will come down. And I want to extend the spine down. Okay, and I'm using my hands for a little bit of support, but I don't want them to block the extension of my spine downward. Then I'm going to bring my feet together. And first, just bring my leg like I was doing a Virabhadrasana 3. And did you see when I did that and I lifted the leg up? Without even trying, my torso went down more toward my leg. Okay? So try that much. Okay? So fold forward. Try and keep your legs straight. Okay? But if you can't, you can't. Bring your legs together. Okay? And then just release your hands a little bit so you can feel how the spine releases downward. Just make sure you're not blocking the movement of the spine with your hands, okay? All right, now just observe what happens in the spine when you lift your right leg back, just like you're gonna do Virabhadrasana 3. Okay, so the leg is just going parallel. You're not even trying to bring it higher, but doesn't your torso go down kind of like a seesaw? Right, then bring that leg back down. You're in Uttanasana still. Make sure you're lifting your quadriceps and your inner thighs. Maybe your Uttanasana got a little bit better. And then lift your left leg up just to that parallel. Make sure you're engaging the quadricep, extend through the foot, and your spine goes down toward the leg a little bit more, right? Or the torso comes in toward the leg. Good job. All right, and then bring that leg back down. Place your hands on your pelvic bones, roll your shoulder bones back and come all the way up. All right, so basically we're gonna go a little bit more toward the classic pose and then we'll work with the hand position. So the more you can lift your leg up, the more your torso is gonna go down, extend and move closer in toward the leg, okay? So progressing in the pose looks like this. Okay. Here I am in Uttanasana. Leg is at parallel with the floor. I walk in, and the more I lift that leg up and really work to internally rotate it and extend through the inner heel, you see how my torso is going more toward my leg and extending downward, but it's going toward the leg mostly because it's lengthening and moving down and in. Okay, so try the next stage. Okay. So fold forward into Uttanasana.
If your hands can't reach the floor, can you use blocks, or does that affect the forward motion?
You can use blocks for the first stage, but you probably will find the more you lift your leg up, you're going to get your hands closer to the floor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. And thanks for asking. Again, remember, it is totally fine to ask questions anytime. I was in a teacher training yesterday talking about ways of creating the class community, and one of them is reminding people that it's okay to stop and ask questions. Okay, now lift your leg up higher. Go, yeah, there you go. Try and let your torso come down. Good. Okay, second side. Bring that leg down. If you bring your first leg side down. Right, I'm gonna do it with you. Class community. Right, so I've got my left leg. First is just parallel with the floor, and I'm really working on engaging the quadricep, the inner thigh, and lifting up from the outer knee to the outer hip. Then I start lifting that leg up higher, walk my hands more back toward my feet, and the higher I lift the leg, the more the torso extends and the torso goes closer to the standing leg. You got to keep your up leg straight. All right, then release and come down.
Oh.
All right, so the classic pose, actually, you only get to hold on, you don't need this, I'm just putting it up to show you better. So the leg that you're standing on, you're gonna take the opposite hand and you're gonna hold on to your ankle from the inside and around the back of the leg, okay? That'll be hard to see if I was farther away, but that's what we're gonna do with the hand, all right? So, stand in, be in Uttanasana again. Ideally, your feet are together, but if you need a little bit apart for your hamstrings, you can do that. Now take your right hand and put it on the inside of your left ankle. And so your hand is on your inner ankle and your fingers are around the back of your ankle. Then go to the 90-degree first. Make sure your legs are really working and extending. Quadriceps, inner thighs, outer thighs, turn the thigh in. Now that you have the hand on the leg, you can actually pull up a little bit and pull back, and you can use that arm to pull the torso more in toward you. It's a little precarious balance-wise, so if you don't sacrifice anything for toppling over. Okay, all right, and then come all the way back up, bring the leg down, release the hand, go ahead and come into Tadasana. I can really feel that side I just did has a lot more extension on the whole front body from having done all of that work of extending the leg up. All right, so we've got one more side. Okay, ready? All right, so you're gonna fold forward. Weave your left hand on the inside of the right ankle, and then hold on to the fingers. The fingers are holding on to the back side of the ankle. So you have to do your own work of lifting up through the outer ankle. And first bring the leg to 90 degrees, engage the quadriceps, inner thigh, and outer knee to outer hip, and then lift that leg up any amount. Pull with your hand against your leg, pull up on the ankle a little bit, really fold forward, and bring yourself more deeply into the pose. Good job, everyone. All right, then bring the leg down, release your hand grip, and then come all the way up and stand in Tadasana. All right, downward facing dog again. Adho Mukha Svanasana, and again, this one should feel pretty different, having done that Urdhva Prasarana Padasana work. Yeah, so I'm feeling in this downward facing dog that my weight
is automatically going back more into my legs because I open those hamstrings and groin so much. I am also feeling that as a result, my thoracic spine is going in significantly. And just for fun, since we lifted the leg up, join the feet, reach the leg back into Urdhva Ekapada Adho Mukha Svanasana. And imagining someone's pulling on your wrist. And then from the shoulder blades, extend through the legs. I said wrist, I meant ankle. And then release yourself down, stretch back, extend, pull back with your leg, move the thoracic spine in, release down again. And now I can really almost get my head to the floor without collapsing. All right, walk forward till your feet are right underneath your hips. Interlace your hands and your elbows and extend that spine down. Switch the grip of your elbows. Place the hands on the pelvic bones. Roll your shoulder bones back. And come all the way up to Tadasana again. Okay. All right. So we're going to do, well, let's do Prasarita Padottanasana, then I'll talk a little bit about headstand and shoulder stand. All right, so walk your feet way out. And really make sure that you're pressing through the little toe side of the foot. Yeah. Lift up through the quadriceps, inner thighs, and also really lift again, like we were working on this a good bit in class, lift up from that outer knee to the outer hip. I don't always instruct that, but it really engages, I find it engages the whole leg a lot more. All right, and then bring your hands down where your wrists are right underneath your shoulders first. Then turn your fingers away from each other. Then turn your fingers way, way, way back behind you. Well, the fingers just turn, but you really feel that rotation. It feels really good in the outer upper arm. All right, then swing your fingers back to regular. Then move your hands where they're in line with your feet. You may want to wiggle your feet out a little bit more. Stretch out those wrists. And then fold forward and bring the crown of the head onto the floor. Lift your quadriceps, lift your inner thighs. Really press down through the little toe side of the foot, but from your outer knee, extend up into the outer hips. And then retrace your steps, come back, bring your hands out right underneath your shoulders, walk in a little bit. And then come all the way up. All right, so, we did Gomukhasana earlier in class. And Gomukhasana is a really interesting pose from the perspective of the inversions, okay? Because that top arm, okay, really teaches you the movement of the arms in headstand. Okay, so just interlace your fingers and bring your hands into a headstand position. Okay? And that's the tricep turns from the outside in, right? And so that's really like the up arm of Gomukhasana, right? So Gomukhasana arms also teaches headstand. So switch the grip of your fingers. Turn the triceps from the outside in, let the shoulders release away from the ears. All right, and then come down. But remember the bottom arm work that we did, that really trains the arm to do shoulder stand, right? So put your hands on your back. Try and get your hands a little bit more up toward your head. Draw your abdomen in, lift your chest well, and then bring your chin down toward your chest. And that is the action of shoulder stand, right? So Gomukhasana has both headstand training and shoulder stand training. Pretty interesting, huh? Okay, so let's do whatever you're gonna do when headstand comes around, all right? So that means you can do it at the wall. That means you can do it in the middle of the room. If you have ropes and you wanna use ropes, you can do that. If you don't do headstand at all, you can do some kind of headless headstand prep or headstand prep. You can repeat downward facing dog. You can repeat standing forward bend. You can repeat Prasarita Padottanasana with your legs out wide, okay? Just whatever you do when headstand in class rolls around. Okay. Okay, so go ahead and go up, get your setup, press your forearms down, lift your shoulders up, put your head on the floor, and then go ahead and come up. That's it. Good, Chaya. And Melinda, reach a little bit more from your inner knee through your inner ankle, inner heel. There you go. Good. Those of you in headstand prep and headless headstand prep, remember you want to come down and rest and then go back up because it's actually more tiring than headstand. A little bit, it looks like you're leaning to the left. So just lift both shoulders up. Move your hips, bob from left to right a little bit. Everyone flex your feet. Okay? And when you really flex your feet, like really pull your toes down toward the floor. And then when you really do it, even more gay. Okay? Pull your toes down to the floor because I want you to feel the extension of the inner foot. Actually, everyone go ahead and come down for a second. Okay. Don't worry, you're not in trouble or anything like that. Okay. But I just want to go over the actions of the feet. So what I'm seeing in most people's feet, okay, is the inner ankle, okay, is collapsing and sort of drawing in. Okay. So go ahead and just be in Dandasana with your feet, okay, and pull your toes back toward you, even if your heels come out off the floor. Okay. When you really flex the feet back like that, do you see that there's a length that comes on the inner side of your ankle? Okay. Now it comes at some expense because it comes at the shortening of the front of the foot, right? So what, now rest your feet down onto the floor. Okay. Can you, but pull your toes back as much as you can without the heels lifting up. So the trick of Shirshasana is to learn how to keep that extension of the inner leg, but also point your feet a bit. Okay. So if you overpoint the feet, okay, go ahead and do that. Like really point your feet like ballerina feet. Okay. And you can see all the kind of wrinkles of skin that come onto the inner ankle, right? So we don't want it to be like that. We want it to be not quite that far, but going toward there, okay? So keep your heels on the floor, pull your toes back, okay? So you get that extension of the inner ankle. Okay? Then keep the extension of the inner ankle as you point your feet a little bit, okay? Now you still, from the little toe side of the foot all the way into the outer hip, you still have to draw up into the outer hips, okay? All right, so let's try Shirshasana again, those of you who are doing Shirshasana, and focus, do that action with your feet. So you're really gonna pull your toes down so you feel that length, then keep that length and then just bring your feet a little bit to the pointed position. Sometimes people refer to that as pointing the foot. I know a headless teacher was just speaking to you for the past 5 minutes. Sorry about that. Okay, so go ahead and come into Shirshasana again. And some of it is just learning to take your awareness there. But when you lift through those inner knee, through the inner heel, it makes the pose a lot lighter. Okay. Okay, so go ahead and flex your feet. Keep your shoulders lifted, but flex your feet way down toward the floor. Really pull those toes down. Yeah, so that you can really feel that extension from the inner leg. Okay. Now keep that extension from the inner knee through the inner heel as you point your toes, I don't know, about 45 degrees or so. Not all the way ballerina pointed, but pointed. Yeah, that's it, Gay. Way to go. Much better, Melinda. All right. The two people's feet I can see. It worked really well. So I'm assuming it's working well for everyone. All right. Okay, now to come down, press your forearms down, lift your shoulders up, maintain that, and everyone come down and rest in downward facing child's pose. All right, good. Okay, if you have space near a wall, go ahead and move toward a wall now. If you don't have space near a wall, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. And go ahead and get a chair. So here's some other poses I haven't been working on as much with you. Okay. Just have the chair nearby for a second. But you're going to be with your back. Well, actually what you're going to do is you're going to put your chair against the wall. And then you're going to sit in front of the chair, ideally in Upavishta Konasana. Now, if you need a little height to sit in an Upavishta Konasana, go ahead and do that. So Upavishta Konasana for a lot of people is a pretty hard pose, okay? Because it's hard to get that lift of the chest. Okay? So it's nice to do it against the chair, okay? Because at least for me, okay, the chair is right around the bottom part of my rib cage. If you're taller, it might be a little bit lower. Okay? So it helps me get a lift of the chest in this pose. Okay? So here I am in Upavishta Konasana. And then do all of your leg actions here. Okay? So quadriceps lift, inner thighs lift, but also lift from the outer knee up into the outer hips. And you have another opportunity in Upavishta Konasana also to really work with the extension of the inner leg. Right? So usually the inner leg is pretty well extended in this pose, almost automatically. Okay? But I'm actually feeling that my calf flesh is a little bit stuck on the floor, so I'm going to release my calf flesh. So all that happens and comes down. All right, so here's Upavishta Konasana. Then scoot yourself a little bit away from the chair. Okay, so you actually have room to turn. Okay. So first we're going to turn in the upright Upavishta Konasana. So extend through your legs, draw up from through the inner leg, draw up from the little toe into the outer hip, lengthen up from the tailbone through the head, and then you're going to turn your torso toward your left leg. And then come back to the center. Check back in that your legs are working, and then turn the other way. Lengthen up and turn. And then come back to the center. So we have not done, to my knowledge, Parivrita Upavishta Konasana together since the pandemic. Okay. So we're going to go toward that pose a little bit. Now take your chair and move it a little bit to the right. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is the chair is actually touching it's near my back. Okay. It's just over a little bit. And I'm going to scoot it back where it's still got the support of the wall. Okay. So here's my chair, here's me. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to turn to the right, okay, but the chair is actually helping my rib cage turn more. Okay. And then I'm going to reach my right hand toward my big toe. And so I'm turning, but I'm kind of leaning back on the chair. Okay. Eventually in this pose, you go all the way down on your leg, but I'm leaning back on the chair. And I'm even taking my left hand and holding on to the chair. And I'm using that bottom edge of the chair to open my chest. Should feel pretty good. All right, then you have to let go of the chair. Hold on to the big toe if you can, or use a strap. Bend your elbow and extend through that side of the torso. Then you're going to reach over with your arm and see if you can get your foot. If you can't, use a strap and turn and rotate your torso up toward the ceiling. Oh, that feels good. And then come all the way back up to the center. All right, any questions about that? All right, let's do the other side then. Okay, so you're going to slide your chair over. Okay. So it's like this corner of the chair, I'm positioning where it's just against, right now, it is actually my right shoulder blade, but it looks like it's my left shoulder blade, okay, to you because of the mirroring thing. Okay, so first I'm just turning toward the right, okay, and my back is on the chair. Okay. And then it's almost like I'm trying to do, and then I reach that hand toward the foot, and then I want to lean back into the chair, okay? So that the chair is actually helping you open your chest, almost like you're doing a back bend over that chair, but you're also twisting, okay? Now, eventually, you lean the whole body up and over this extended leg. So that's where we're kind of going, but we're using that suggestion of the chair on the back rib cage to really help turn and open that rib around. Right? All right. Then imagine that the chair could kind of go with you, so that that part of the rib is still getting that suggestion of the chair. So reach and get your toe if you can. Then you're going to bend your elbow down toward the floor, extend through both sides of the torso, pretend the chair is still on your back and it's still rotating. Then you're going to add your Parsvakonasana arm, see if you can get your foot, and then turn and rotate yourself around. And then I just say, why haven't I been doing that pose? Because it feels really good. Okay, and then come all the way up. Now you're going to bring your legs together into Dandasana. You can say goodbye to your chair for a while. Goodbye, chair. Here is another pose I have not taught during the pandemic, and it's Parivrita Paschimottanasana. But we're going to do it in a new way. And the new way that we're going to do it is to be with your left side will be, you can watch first, your left side will be against the wall. So you're going to extend forward. Normally in Parivrita Paschimottanasana, you actually reach over and get the outer foot, which would be your right foot, well, your right foot, yeah. But instead, you're going to reach your arm on the inside of your leg. You're going to turn toward the wall and not even try and go down, but just turn your back toward the wall. And then, if you can, in particular if you have a rope wall, it's very nice, you can actually reach up on the wall and try and turn your whole back to the wall, and then extend through both sides of the torso. So try that. You're not trying to reach all the way to the outside foot. You're just trying to reach your hand to the big toe side of your inner foot. Okay. Extend the sides of the torso forward. You can keep your right hand on your hip at first, and then lean back into the wall. Like the chair was still there. You're really turning and opening that body. You're not going down super low. Okay. And then see if you can reach your other arm up. I've got this rope wall here, which is really nice because I can pull on my little headstand sling and really get that opening extension. So it's really almost like you're doing a Trikonasana, but you're just sitting down. Okay. Oh, it felt great. All right, then swing around and do the other side. I'm pretty close to the wall, okay. But I'm maybe like I'm maybe like an inch away from the wall. Okay. Go ahead and turn upright first. We didn't do that on the first slide, but it'll actually help. So you're turning away from the wall. Right. Then extend forward and get the inner foot, not the outer foot. Turn and back, rotate back toward the wall. And then if it doesn't bother your arm or your shoulder, you can reach your other arm up. Sometimes that bothers my shoulder. Okay. And it would bother my shoulder if I didn't have this rope to hang on to. So lengthen through, and if it bothers your shoulder, the point is you wouldn't do it. You would just keep your hand like this and really work on turning and rotating and opening the torso. Okay. Good, those look good, everyone. All right, then come back to the center. And then just get your big toes, lengthen through the side ribs, and just see how your Paschimottanasana feels after having done those revolved poses. Let the spine extend forward. And let some quietude come to the brain through the Paschimottanasana. If you want to grab a brick and put it on your forehead, you're welcome to do that. But I felt a lot of release in the rib cage from having done those poses. Okay, and then go ahead and release and come all the way up. And then go ahead and set up for legs up the wall pose. Okay. We're gonna end a little bit differently today. We're gonna, actually, before we do legs up the wall pose, what we're gonna do is a brief brick setu bandha, working on keeping the legs together. Okay? Then we're gonna do a supine baddha konasana, and then we're gonna do legs up the wall pose. Okay? So get your brick.
Yeah.
You're gonna put the brick right on your sacrum right on the brick. Come up. This is not working that well for me right now. This may be a lot for you, I'm now realizing, after the forward bending. So, you know, you may want to use a lower brick than you normally do. Okay, so it took me a little bit longer, okay, to open, but you know, we're going toward shoulder standing kind of work, so you want to get that front body back open now. But observe how, what I'm observing once I'm in here is that work of the parivritas really freed and opened my chest, and so I'm getting a lot of nice opening in the shoulders. But I'm going to try and work to get my legs together, because that's the pose. If it hurts your back, you don't have to do it. But also the pose has straight legs. Now, again, after the forward bend that we just did, you may not feel this is coming as well, but see, I'm just wiggling my feet out, trying to go toward straighter legs. Okay. Then walk your feet back in, lower your buttocks down, keep your chest well lifted, but just bring the soles of the feet together and let your knees go out wide for Supta Baddha Konasana without any support. And just feel that freedom that comes in the inner groin. If you want to support your outer knees with the blanket or bricks, feel free to do that. Okay. But just come into Supta Baddha Konasana. You can work either holding onto your ankles, or you can have your hands above your head, or you can have your hands out to the sides. And each one of those will stretch the body slightly differently. And just watch your breath for a few cycles of breath here in Supta Baddha Konasana. Even though we're flat on the floor, the chest is nice and well lifted from the shoulder work we did and from that setu bandha. So as you inhale, you should feel the breath pretty readily come into your chest. In Supta Baddha Konasana, the abdomen pretty readily draws in toward the spine. So it's a nice place to observe that movement of the abdomen drawing in toward the spine on the exhalation. Okay, this is just, you're not really changing the breath, you're just watching the breath. Okay? And that practice of watching the breath is called Ujjayi 1. If you want to work with a little bit of prolonging the inhalation and prolonging the exhalation, you can. But the main thing to observe is just the openness that comes into the front body doing a pose like Supta Baddha Konasana. And then go ahead and place your hands on the outside of your knees after you finish watching your breath. Bring your knees together. And then go ahead and roll to your side and set up for legs up the wall pose. If you have the option to put your buttocks up on a bolster, please do. Yeah.
I need to leave early.
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Can you talk about leg work and like, should the legs be together on?
Oh, that's a good question. In the classic pose, yes. Okay. But actually what we're going to do today, because we have a little bit more time for legs up the wall pose, is we're actually going to put our legs in a couple different positions. But yes, the legs should be together, Radhika, in the opening part of the pose. And this is also a really good place to work with that inner leg action that I was talking about, because you can actually see your feet in legs up the wall pose, right? So you can actually see, is that inner heel kind of dropping down toward the knee? And you can really sort out the inversion shape of the foot in legs up the wall pose quite readily. Another way I describe what the legs are generally doing in this pose is that you want to have some muscular engagement. Okay, so, but you know what, when the legs are in this pose, automatically, just because of gravity, you get a lot of the quadricep work, you get a lot of the inner thigh work. And so you don't have to overwork the legs, but you want to have some integrity to the work of the legs. So they're not just like flopped out like duck feet per se. Okay. Sometimes people put a belt. Now, okay, but so that's the answer in terms of the classical version of the pose. Now, there's also a version of the pose where you let your feet come about hip width apart, and you can put a belt around your feet to give yourself a little bit of support. And that can really release and give you more depth in the groin. So if anyone wants to try that, okay, just you can feel the difference, moving your feet a little bit apart. You can do that in and of itself, but putting the belt, put it actually around the foot itself, okay, and not the ankles. Yeah. There you go. That's it, Melinda. And so that kind of helps the feet, the legs, like they keep more of the integrity of their work. And you should feel more release of the abdomen in. And if you can take your awareness to your inner groin, that probably feels like it's releasing more too, those of you who chose to use the belt. Yeah. Now, go ahead and take off the belt. There are other things that you can do with your legs in legs up the wall pose. For instance, you can let your legs go way out wide like they were doing Upavishta Konasana. Yeah. And feel how spacious that feels in the groin region. And then after Upavishta Konasana, bring your legs back together to the classic pose. And that, it should make the classic pose feel like there's more release in the groin. Right. And then take your legs out to Upavishta Konasana again. Keep your knees out wide, but bring your feet into Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. Okay. And you can use your hands if you want to lengthen. If you can, Bob, bring your heels closer to your, yeah, it's interesting. You know, Bob, this is kind of interesting because, you know, you're pretty flexible in external rotation, but in this angle, it's a little bit more stretch for you. Okay, now I was telling my another group of students I was teaching that you can also work toward Padmasana against the wall. And the first way I work toward Padmasana against the wall is just put your right foot on top of your left foot and do foot on foot at the wall. Yeah. And again, that how you're working with your hands, Melinda, is just fine, right? Yeah. And don't you feel that your groin is really opening here? Right? And then from there, see if you can just slide your left foot more towards your right hip like it's doing Sukhasana. And can you bring your right foot into half Padmasana? Okay. Yeah, nice. And then you may find that you can lift your left foot up and put it in Padmasana also and do Padmasana with your legs at the wall. So working that way was a big breakthrough for me in Padmasana work. I know most of you, a lot of you have Padmasana kind of from God, but I had to work on it a lot, still do. So this is one of the things that really helped my Padmasana. Okay, so now undo your legs. Okay. And then come back to Baddha Konasana. Go to Upavishta Konasana. And then back to the classical pose with your legs. So now we've got the other Padmasana side to do, right? Okay, so let your legs go out wide for Upavishta Konasana because that opens the groin. And keeping your knees wide, bring your feet into Baddha Konasana. This also really trains the legs to do the work without your hands, but you can reach up and use your hands too. And now from Baddha Konasana, put your left foot on top of the right foot for a foot on foot pose. Then from foot on foot pose, your right leg is going to go down towards Swastikasana, the pose we started out in the beginning of class. And then see, can you get your left foot into Padmasana? You can stay there, or see if you can move your right leg up and over your left leg so that the right leg comes into Padmasana also. So you just kind of lift the right foot up. So on this side, Melinda, you don't have to answer me, but is it you can tell me later, but you had it on the other side, so I guess it's the knee or the hip or something, so, okay. All right, good job, everyone. Now you're just gonna retrace your steps, so can you come back to Baddha Konasana or foot on foot, stretch your legs out into Upavishta Konasana, bring your legs back together to the classical pose. And then push yourself away from the wall and come into Shavasana. So that's a nice long legs up the wall pose. And there have been times in my own practice, I need to start doing it more again, where I would do that pretty much every day. Okay? The other thing you can do is if you're not on a bolster, okay, you can push yourself away from the wall and work toward Matsyasana very easily that way too. Well, not easily, but it's a good way of approaching it. So whatever Shavasana is calling to you, Gay's getting a chair, it looks like, for her legs. So that would be fine. Bob is flat on the floor, though he could use a little bit of support for his head. Good, Marcia. Okay, we work the shoulders a lot, right? And we work the groin a good bit today. We had our legs, our head below our heart a good bit today. Just observe, well, reflect on the work that we did, and then observe the effect that it has on your practice. And that process of reflecting and observing cause and effect builds up what is called viveka. That is discernment. The ability basically to choose right action, to know what to do in a particular circumstance. And Patanjali says that viveka is what destroys avidya, or spiritual ignorance, which is the first of the kleshas, the most powerful one because it's the breeding ground of all the other kleshas and afflictions. So one of the reasons probably that asana is part of the 8 limbs of yoga is that it is an occasion when we approach it the right way to really build up within ourselves that sense of reflective discernment. But having done that work, one of the other great things about asana is it enables us just to be in whatever space that we're in. To just be in and experience the shavasana, just like you're watching your breath, letting the breath be what it is. Let your shavasana be what it is for you. Now take a couple deeper breaths. Bringing that experience of shavasana, that glimpse of your true essential self, your own true splendor with you as you go about
your work in the world. Place your hands on your rib cage. Bend your knees. Roll to your right side. And use your hands to push yourself back up. Sit up straight and tall. Lift your chest well. Close your eyes and fold your palms together at your heart. Observe the effect that your practice has on you. Observe it in every layer of your being, from the physical to the most deeply spiritual. In gratitude to the benefit you receive from your practice of yoga, in gratitude to the people who have the opportunity to learn and study and practice yoga with, and in gratitude to the lineage of Hatha Yoga itself, as practiced by BKS Iyengar, reaching back to the sages of India, and down through a line of teachers and students to you here on the mat in Austin, Texas, or wherever you happen to be in the world, through the miracle of Zoom. Namaste. Great job, everyone. Happy Saturday.
Thank you, Anne.
You're welcome. Good to see you.